So thank you so much again, everyone. And what I want to do now is introduce our guest speakers today. So this is one of my favorite events of the year because these guys have just this fabulous stand-up comedy act. I want to introduce first Jason Wicha, who is the city manager for the city of Lake Forest and has been so since 2019. Unbelievable, Jason. Since 2019. Prior to joining Lake Forest, Jason spent 5 years as the assistant village manager for the village of Skokie, Illinois, and served as village administrator for the village of Thornton for 7 years prior to that. He is active with the Lake County Municipal Conference and the Lake County Municipal Conference. I wrote that very well. Okay, and he received his Bachelor of Arts degree from Skidmore College and a Master of Public Administration from Wayne State. He and his wife Jessica have 2 small children, and they live over, we talked about it, right near the Winter Club, right here in Lake Forest. And it's so great to have you. And Drew Irvin, who is proudly serving as the village administrator of Lake Bluff, has been so since 2008. Holy cow, Drew. 2008. He serves on the Illinois City County Management Association Executive Board and is the immediate past president. He's on the executive board, vice president for the Government IT Technology Consortium. He serves as chair of the Glenview Public Safety Dispatch Joint Emergency Telephone System Board. He's the secretary on the North Shore Employee Benefits Consortium Executive Board, is on the board of directors for the Solid Waste Agency of Lake County. He's such a slacker, isn't he? And is the executive board on the executive board for the Northern Illinois Benchmarking Consortium, has served as chairman of the executive board of Intergovernmental Risk Management Association. Prior to coming to Lake Bluff, Drew served as the village administrator in Bannockburn from 2002 to 2007 and as assistant village administrator in Lamont prior to that. He holds a BA in chemistry, you've used that well, from William Jewell College and a master's in public administration from the University of Missouri in St. Louis. Gentlemen, it's our great privilege and pleasure to have you here. I invite you up to the podium.
Thank you guys so much for being here today. Before we go ahead and get started with our presentation, let me just again thank Joanna and her entire team for putting this together. Thank you to the Deer Path Inn for hosting us here today. Really, it's just wonderful to be back in person. As Joanna said, we did this last year over Zoom. It just wasn't the same, and so it is so nice to be able to see all of you, not just in person, but maskless as well. And I think to us, it really signifies what, after 2 long years, is hopefully a sign of new beginnings. Drew and I are keeping our COVID beards, but other than that, I think we're hopeful to leave most of this behind us. And as we do look to the future, we really have some great stories to tell about both of our communities. And so we thank you guys for being here to listen and to allow us to share those stories. And before we do that, I just want to, again, thank all of you, too, as leaders in our business community. It really is the businesses of both of our towns that provide so much of the vitality that make our towns what they are, and it is really all thanks to you. So thank you for all that you guys do on a daily, monthly, annual basis. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Drew to go ahead and get started.
Yeah, and I would like to thank Jason for that fantastic opening. You can't hear me? Okay, but thank you for wanting to hear me. Let's start with that, okay? No, I want to say thanks to Jason for that opening, and you guys are ambassadors of our communities, and that's what I love coming here, and I'm going to fill your tanks with information. Jason is too. So we're excited to share because we've been, held back. As you said, last year, we were talking about what we wore last year, the whole Zoom thing, and I had to pull these ties. Who wears ties anymore? And I was begging Jason, say, come on, let's wear sweats. It'll be so funny. And no, he wouldn't go for it.
So I'm just glad the suit fits.
Yeah, well, I won't, yeah. True story, let these out. So, okay. So Jason and I are going to talk about what we're going to talk about, kind of set the table, give you some context. We're going to talk about our respective financials in our communities and things that affect that. And we're going to go over capital initiatives, and we're going to talk about what's happening in terms of all the excitement and buzz in our communities. So I saw Dan Dorfman is here. Yes, Dan, raise your hand. Right here. Hey, Dan. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. There's not much press left in the universe, right? There's hardly any members. I think in the years past, there's been like as many as 3 members, and now there's just Dan. So thanks for being here. So I'm going to make your job easy, as Jason and I try to do on a regular basis. Here's your headline, so get your pen ready. All right, the Village of Lake Bluff forges through the pandemic by delivering on its brand promise. Okay? Okay. Did you get it?
I got it.
Okay, great. All right. Okay, excellent. Don't miss it. All right. So what is that brand promise? And I'll read this to you. The Village of Lake Bluff is for people who prize experiences over extravagance. Lake Bluff is one of the smallest villages on the North Shore, nestled along Lake Michigan, just minutes from Chicago, where its small size, unpretentious charm, and easygoing spirit set it apart even in prestigious company, where you spend your time laughing with the Joneses and not keeping up with them. This is the Lake Bluff brand promise. So why is this important? Well, a brand promise tells your customer, either explicitly or implicitly, what they can expect from your product or service. It sets their expectations on the quality of your products or services, and your promise to your customers is a critical part of your brand identity. And when this promise is broken, your brand can lose its reputation, customers, and hence market share for us, our residents, or our businesses. And surprisingly, according to a recent Gallup poll, only about 50% of customers expect a brand to actually deliver on what it says it will. And I think this shocking truth demonstrates why so many consumers don't trust brands, and in general marketing communications, oh, thank you, Glenn, and doesn't trust the communications. So the question is, how did the leaders in Lake Bluff, which includes Taryn Fisher, who was not noted earlier, thank you, Taryn, for being here, from our Board of Trustees, how do they do it? How do they deliver on the brand promise? And I think the simple answer is they followed the village's strategic plan. And that's probably, if you've seen these presentations before, I keep saying that, strategic plan, so be prepared if this is your first one. And that's a fine tradition that village boards before them have started and have continued to do over the years. And what does that look like? Well, they've done that by bolstering economic vitality, fortifying our public assets, cultivating connections, celebrating, preserving, and enhancing our natural heritage, and ensuring insightful government through long-term planning efforts and financial viability. So my presentation today will highlight some of these key actions. Jason.
All right, thank you, Drew. And certainly in Lake Forest, long-term strategic planning has always been a hallmark of our community, and we're going to talk a lot about that as we move into the presentation as well, because there's a lot on the horizon for us later this year and into next year as well. But I want to highlight just a couple things that are sort of new and happening, and a lot of these we're going to address in greater detail. But I think at a high level, these reflect a lot of the key priorities that we've identified, not just today, but for the year ahead. The first, as you can see, is just finding new ways to interact and serve residents in our community. We have a lot of ways in which we've tried to rethink how we engage with the public, both to get feedback from the public and also to make sure that your interactions with us are as easy and seamless as possible to reflect the 21st century that we live in. And we've developed several tools to try to make that easier for you. One of those that you can see here is our mobile app, which we continue to plug pretty regularly. It's been very successful for us. We are at about 3,000 downloads for the mobile app. We receive about, anywhere about 5,000 monthly uses for the app. And really, the app was created in recognition that in today's society, most people access information or service requests by just using their smartphone. Even the days of going to your computer, to your desktop, to try to conduct business are long since gone. And so really, the app that we have allows people to conduct any business, financial transactions, permit activity, scheduling inspections, submitting work order requests, whether you see potholes or tree branches down. And you can all do it just using the phone. It's also an easy place to access information that we want to share. And so one of the things that we've really tried to roll out is the push notification technology that allows us to share important messaging with the community. And then there's a lot of new features that we've been rolling out in the last year that are exciting to us. A couple I'm going to highlight just because, as you can feel with spring in the air, it's not too far off to envision summer. And we've really added some wonderful applications to this that specific to our beach. And so I encourage everyone to download the app. New this year, we have the ability for people to see in real time parking availability down at the beach. I know that becomes an issue for people at times, and there's nothing more frustrating than packing up the car, driving the family to the beach only to hear that there's no parking availability left. So that's all accessible in real time. For those who are into our sailing programs or other things, we can now allow people to see real-time wind conditions, wave conditions, water temperatures, things like that. So for anyone who spends time at the beach in the summer, please download the app. And then another really exciting feature that we're looking to roll out and pilot this upcoming year is athletic field cameras in order to allow individuals to stream in real time at various parks athletic events that are happening. So if you're not able to attend your kids' soccer game or lacrosse game or baseball game, or if the grandparents who are living in Florida want to watch, they should be able to have the ability to just download the app, open it up, and watch the games in HD quality video in real time. So we're really excited about that. And then there's a lot more to come on that as well. Infrastructure improvements, I'm not going to go into detail now because we have a lot to talk about later in the presentation, but certainly it's a busy year in Lake Forest, and I'll talk about the good and the bad that comes with that. Communication and marketing initiatives. This has really been a critical priority for us over the last couple of years, acknowledging that the manner in which residents engage with their municipality and also engage with one another have evolved very quickly. And we've really given a lot of thought and effort into how do we keep up and adapt to the changing times. And so really under the leadership of our new communications manager, Dana Olson, I think over the last year we've made a lot of strides in elevating our communications, whether it be in our revamped dialogue newsletter, our weekly e-news events, our social media presence. I think we're doing a very good job there. And then from a marketing initiative perspective, we're continuing to focus on events that highlight a lot of the amazing activities and institutions that exist in the community. One of those for which we're incredibly proud, and hopefully most of you in the business community are familiar with, is the seasonal pop-up shop that we've been doing at our train station. That was really the brainchild of Alderman Jennifer Karras, and has been a wonderful opportunity for us to highlight the myriad of nonprofit organizations that exist in our community. I always say that there are so many of these hidden gems in Lake Forest that a lot of people are not necessarily familiar with, but contribute to making Lake Forest such a special place. And so to be able to not only help them financially, but to spotlight them has been a tremendous success. And hopefully for the business community as well, it's been able to bring foot traffic into the central business district, increase vibrancy during the holiday season. So really been a tremendous success. And then business activity, the word is out that Lake Forest is a tremendous place to be. There's a lot of interest, and we're going to talk about some of those as we get further into the presentation. But needless to say, there's a lot of excitement on the horizon.
So a little bit about the money moves.
Well, I guess that's me. So we're a little rusty, as you can see. We haven't done these in person in a while. But one of the silver linings, if you will, and I hate to use that term in the pandemic, but I think everybody is aware that over the last 2 years, we've experienced a real resurgence in our real estate market. It was a slow market pre-COVID, but that has been completely flipped on its head over the last year and a half. The chart you see here, the two lines at the top reflect the number of real estate transfers that have occurred compared to the prior 3 fiscal years that you can see on the bottom. And so obviously that's been a great story for us. It continues really to be as hot as it's ever been. The only thing that's slowing it down, as any of the realtors in the room will tell you, is just a lack of inventory right now. So we don't want to see anyone go, but if you're considering putting your house on the market, it's a good time. I suspect you'll get offers very quickly. And so, you know, this has been a wonderful opportunity for us. We have over 1,000 new families, as you can see by these numbers, just within the last 2 years. And so to put that in perspective, that's about 20% of our entire housing stock. 1 in 5 homes in Lake Forest has a new family living in it just within the last 20 months or so. And that presents a lot of wonderful opportunities for us, but also some challenges. You know, we are in the process of thinking about how do we engage with these new residents. One of the things we're finding that's a little unique about this current phenomenon is that a lot of the new residents moving here do not necessarily have prior roots in the community. As many people know, historically, a lot of young families moving to Lake Forest may have had someone in the family who grew up in Lake Forest and now they're returning to raise their family. Clearly, to me, that is a testament to the type of community that we have, that those who grew up here leave, go elsewhere, and realize there's no better place to raise their family than Lake Forest. But as we have new families come in who really don't have familiarity with our community, we try to think through how we balance the new, fresh perspectives that they may bring and how we incorporate that into how we do business, but also recognizing that we're a community of very deep history and tradition, and how do we help people understand that tradition and how Lake Forest has come to be what it is. And so we're excited to continue those efforts, but needless to say, it's a wonderful challenge for us to have, and we hope to continue that. But while we're blessed with the experience we've had over the last 20 months, we're also not content to rest on our laurels. We continue to think about how we will market in the future Lake Forest to prospective residents as a wonderful place to raise a family, whether that be promoting additional community events, social events, providing amenities for young families. There's a lot that we can and will continue to do, and we look forward to doing that in the years ahead.
We didn't have so many people really eager to leave Lake Bluff like Lake Forest did. So, you know, everybody has their different experience, and they're working through it. I mean, come on, right? So, sorry, Jason, had to do that. So, similarly, you know, again, Lake Bluff, I guess I was here 2 years ago. We were talking about putting back together, or I shouldn't say putting back together, assembling a branding committee. And I kind of put that together based off the success of the Lake Bluffs Farmers Market Committee, which is a committee that advises the village administrator, and it's kind of an ad hoc group. So Lake Bluff is blessed to have a number of advertising and marketing professionals in our community. I sent out a blast through our e-news system and got a great, again, Lake Bluff answers the call for volunteerism. And people said, yeah, I'd like to help out. So we got together and started working in earnest probably a year into COVID, and we put together this fantastic marketing approach to sell what Lake Bluff has to sell, and that's an experience, right? Our quality of life, our community, and we're, you know, we don't have smokestacks, you know, we're not chasing jobs, we're chasing residents who want to enjoy what Lake Bluff has to offer, and so we're selling homes. And so we put together this marketing program to help tell the world what a great place Lake Bluff is, and guess what? There's nothing to sell. The shelves are empty, right? Look at these numbers. It's unbelievable. This is from last year, which was up dramatically. I didn't want to show you the graph because it would come off the screen here, but our closed sales are up 14%. Volume is up from 111 million last year to 137 million. That's up 23%. Average sales price is up to $722,000, up from $667 last year. And the only number going down is the average days on the market. I mean, that's unbelievable. Lake Bluff hasn't seen these numbers maybe ever. So it's been remarkable for us. The good news is we have a marketing program. If and when the numbers go in a different direction, we're ready. Similarly, finances in Lake Bluff. I'll borrow the words from Moody's Investors, who says Lake Bluff's position is superior. We have all-time highs in sales tax. Didn't see that coming through COVID, right? In fact, Lake Bluff purposely dialed back our capital initiatives and pumped the brakes on those, thinking that we don't know what's ahead, so we're going to be cautious. Sales tax is probably the village's single best dashboard indicator of our fiscal state, and the data kept coming in, and we were like, wow, I can't believe this. And it was really surprising to us, but so the village turned back open the spigot, and we started doing capital work. I'll cover that later, but it's been a really remarkable experience for the village, and we just today we're going to deliver to the village board the next 2-year budget. We do 2-year fiscal plans in Lake Bluff. We found that to be helpful in our long-range planning efforts. And it's projecting this kind of, I would say, flattening a little bit in the out years. Some of you in the room, I think, were at the Rotary Economic Breakfast on Wednesday and heard Charles Evans talking about microchips. The number one driver for our sales tax is auto sales. And so the lack of product for them to sell has got us a little cautious. So let me put a number on that for you. So I think 2/3 of the village's sales tax revenue, which makes up 1/3 of all revenue for the village, is related to car sales. So we have been surprised by the numbers to continue to keep where they're at. I think a lot of it has to do with the price of used cars, because the sales tax on those is treated pretty much similar to a new car. So we've continued to do okay. So again, cautious optimism as we move forward.
And I'll say, Drew knows how envious I am of his 2-year budget, because our cycles never seem to end. He's figured something out that I haven't. But really, while I know finances can sometimes be a dry topic for people, in Lake Forest, it's really our bread and butter, because we always have such a great story to tell. I would say a lot of times people will just assume or dismiss our relative financial health by assuming, well, it's an affluent community. I'm sure that explains a lot of it. But the truth of the matter is, our financial success is really predicated on the leadership of our elected officials, who continually make decisions with long-term time horizons in mind. Making decisions today for the betterment of tomorrow. I know that seems like a novel concept in government, but it's how Lake Forest has always operated. And so much like Lake Bluff, we are pleased to say that we've not just navigated the pandemic in mitigating any of the downsides, but really have come out in a lot of ways even healthier on the other side. So a lot of the benchmark indicators to demonstrate or reflect short-term financial health remain in place for us. Our AAA bond rating, which was affirmed last year when we did some refinancing of debt that saved the taxpayer several $million. We have the lowest tax rate in Lake County, which, as I boast about anywhere I have the pleasure of speaking to other groups. Looking more from long-term financial liabilities, our pension funding is in remarkable shape. I think we have probably the best pension funding model of anyone in the state of Illinois. There's a lot of talk you've probably heard about pension liabilities being the elephant in the room that are ultimately going to cripple a lot of municipalities. And credit to the city council, about 4 or 5 years ago, the city decided we're not going to follow the state's model. We're going to control our own destiny. We created our own funding model without going into a lot of detail. We front-loaded a lot of payments, which we had the benefit of, or the luxury of being able to do. I always use sort of the simplistic retirement analogy of a family saving for retirement in their late 20s and early 30s versus starting to save for retirement in their 50s, which is how the state's funding model really works. And so we've allowed compound interest to work for us. We're about 3 years from hitting a crossover point where actually all of our pension contributions will flatline moving forward, unlike a lot of other communities that have sort of this hockey stick look, if you will, where it's all backloaded. Time is our friend, and it is working very well. And then, again, the other sort of long-term liability that all communities face is infrastructure and capital investment. Really, our story is an amazing one to tell. As you can see from this slide, we're really at near record levels of capital investments. And in a lot of ways, we're certainly at the healthiest we've ever been. If you look at the chart here, there's the line in the middle that is the highest. That's a little deceiving because we did significant upgrades to our water treatment plant that year in fiscal year 2018. That was all financed using debt, given the scope and magnitude of the project. But if you look at these last 2 years here, this is all financed pay as you go on a cash basis. We've created that model to reduce interest payments that we would owe. And so as you can see, both for the current fiscal year and then for the fiscal year that's about to begin for us on May 1, we're exceeding $15 million in annual capital investments. And really, there's no better way for our city council to leave the community in good hands for future generations than to make these investments proactively. And we're really blessed to be in great shape. And we're going to talk about some of those capital projects in a little bit, or right now, actually. So, all right. Want to advance to the next slide? So yeah, I'm going to talk about some of the things that are coming up this year. And as I may have mentioned earlier, construction projects are both a blessing and a curse. Everybody loves construction projects when they're done. Nobody likes living through construction season, and some of that is going to be applicable to the upcoming year in Lake Forest as well. The first project that I want to emphasize, because it's coming pretty quickly, is not actually a city-initiated project. It's through ComEd, but we're trying to get the word out because it is going to be disruptive. The bridge right at Deer Path and 41 needs to be replaced. It's owned by ComEd. The bike path is on top. It's just deteriorated, and ComEd does not feel that the heavy equipment that they need to maintain their infrastructure can be accommodated by the bridge. And so in order to replace the bridge, the old one's got to come down, the new one has to go up. That requires the complete closure of Deer Path, which, as everyone knows, is the main east-west artery for a lot of people to get in and out of the central business district, to get to the schools. So credit to our public works staff. They worked very hard with ComEd over the last probably 8 months to sequence the timing so that the upcoming closure is at least going to occur during spring break, so that it won't impact parents taking their kids to school. As those of you who've been in Lake Forest for a long time know, the town clears out pretty well during the week of spring break, so hopefully that will minimize disruption. There will be intermittent lane closures, periodically for the several months after that, but it'll just be one-way closures. The street will remain open. And then we're certainly waiting till the school year is completed. In terms of replacing the bridge and putting it back up, we're hoping to delay it slightly so that the closure will come the week following Lake Forest Day, which is probably the second week behind spring break when the town really clears out and there's just not as much traffic. So we're hopeful that timing will all sequence as we've planned. There will be a lot of information to come on that. Our communications team has done a great job of being more proactive in getting information out to impacted residents, helping people find alternative routes. But if you happen to still be in town during the week of spring break, take Wesley Road if you can. A couple other great projects we have coming. We're replacing the pedestrian bridges, both at Illinois, right near the Gorton Community Center, and at Woodland, over by Carlo's Tailor Shop. These are both part of the Robert McClory Bike Trail. Both bridges are about 30 years old. They're really at their useful life. They're both going to be replaced sometime this summer, It should require modest at best road closures, but important projects for us as we continue to promote additional alternate modes of transportation, access to bike paths. That's an important project for us. The Burr Oak Storm Sewer Improvement Project, I feel like I'm here every single year talking about this, saying we're about to get it done. This is really the year it's getting done. If I'm wrong on that, I'm not even coming next year to talk about this, to be honest, but there have been slight delays only in some of the bureaucratic paperwork for a grant that we were fortunate enough to receive through the state that's financing about $2.5 million of the total $5.2 million project. But we expect to start that project probably early summer. For those that are unfamiliar, this is at the north end of the business district, Northwestern Avenue. It's probably the most significant area of stormwater flooding that we have in the community. Stormwater continues to be a challenge. This is the most critical project that's been identified. I should have noted it several slides ago, but we're utilizing a wonderful technology that creates a large underground detention vault underneath Western Avenue. Will hold incredible volumes of water during times of severe rain events. And then once our storm sewer system is able to catch up and has capacity, again, to take water, then the system will discharge into our stormwater infrastructure. And it actually has the added environmental benefit to us of allowing that water, the sediment that can collect in stormwater runoff, to settle in the bottom of the tank before the water is discharged. That's very important to us from an environmental perspective, because that area of town, the stormwater ultimately discharges into our network of ravines and into the lake. So being able to remove that from the water system is critical for us. Next, on a happier note, just at our last council meeting, the City Council approved the construction and installation of a new splash pad at Town Line Park. I don't know how many people are familiar with those, but they're a wonderful water feature for kids. They have lots of different, I don't even know the best way to describe them, but they have these features that shoot water, spray water at kids, and it's something that was identified in our Parks Master Plan that was approved in 2019. It's been important for us to try to find an opportunity to add water features on the west side of Lake Forest, where people are a little further away from the beach. But again, as we talk about having so many young families moving into the community, it's really important for us to continue to provide high-quality recreational amenities for those young families, and this is going to be a wonderful addition to our park system. We look to have that installed probably by mid to late June of this year. And then some of you may have heard there are discussions underway about looking at improving athletic field conditions in the community. It is an area where we receive, at least from young parents, regular criticism about our fields not necessarily being up to par. We're identifying various options that might work to improve those fields. I don't know what that'll look like. The City Council will be having those discussions in the months ahead, but I think there is broad commitment to want to improve the quality of our athletic fields. And really, I think it's important for us, not just as a quality of life issue, but as a marketing tool as well. When we talk about attracting prospective families to the community, top-notch athletic facilities, recreational amenities is important to a lot of young families. So that's important to us. And then the last one, sorry, Drew, I'm taking a lot of time, but $15 million buys you a lot of projects. So if you want to just flip the slide, Forest Park, Bluff, and the beach. Many of you will probably remember a few years ago when we had a Bluff collapse that basically wiped out the whole north parking lot, or at least access to the north parking lot. As a result of that, while the city did a nice job of rebuilding all of that and stabilizing access to the north parking lot for many decades to come. We tried to learn from that experience, and one of the things we did was install a lot of monitors to measure the stability or instability of the remaining sections of the bluff there. Based on the engineering analysis that we've done, it was determined that there were some areas that were presenting concern for us, really in sort of the middle sections of the beach. If you can visualize, here's the parking lot. kind of at the far left of your picture, and then, we have our pavilions there. So later this year, we plan to do a significant project to stabilize the remaining portion of the bluff. We're timing that so it'll end after the summer beach season. Construction work should begin in October and then continue through the winter. Really, once this project's done, this should stabilize the entirety of the bluff for the next 50 years, with both the north and south sections already having been completed, and again, is a critical project for us to ensure the protection of this asset for the community. Also, we've been evaluating how to preserve and protect our beach. Most people know, although it's starting to recede, which is good, we've been record lake levels over the last few years. It's resulted in significant erosion and created other challenges for us. So we're looking at a multi-year project to help stabilize the beach, replenish it with sand, look at some other modest engineering solutions to ensure the viability of our beach for the next 40 years. It's really been one of the crown jewel assets in our community, and again, credit to the council wanting to make sure that's preserved for the next generations of Lake Forest residents as well.
Wake up.
Yeah.
Sorry. There's even more internal digs going on. You don't even know that's happening.
Yeah, we haven't even scratched the surface.
So, we're going to meet in the parking lot later. Go at it. Again, Lake Forest loves to copy Lake Bluff. This is a project we finished last fall. This is the replacement of a bridge. Regis and I stood out there. It was like 2 in the morning. We're watching them set these the new bridge over the McClory Trail. Jason talked about that's another, I guess, unbelievable amenity that our communities get to share is the McClory Trail. We're I guess, embarrassment of riches when it comes to recreation opportunities. But this was a project the village did jointly with the county. Thank you, Sandy, for your help with that. And talking about Jason's project up on, is that Burr, where you're waiting for the grant money?
Yes.
13 years for state grant money for this project. 13 years. But here it is. The bridge didn't collapse before we actually did, so that's the good news. You'll see more activity around this shortly. The village has on the streets right now a bid. We're soliciting bids for landscaping related to this project, lots of trees, lots of native plantings, and it also includes a bicycle repair station just south of this area, which there's not any close ones on the McClory Trail for us, and so we wanted to add that asset. And the Lake Bluff 125 committee generously donated the funds to make that happen. So if I was here for the last 2 years, I would have been cheering their praises. The 125 committee did a remarkable job in the village over the last 2 years, celebrating the community. They, like so many others, were hidden under the cloak of COVID, but the work went on, and Jillian and Eric with the library were big partners with that, so thank you for your help with that. Can we give them applause, please? They were really good. The party we had last fall, which is, I'll talk a little bit about later too, but it was just really remarkable all the work they did. So, similar to Jason, but a little note on scale, his $15 million capital budget is about my entire budget, operating and capital. So that's what you get when you're 3 times our size. But we're going to invest in our infrastructure nonetheless, and that's part of what the blueprint calls for, continuously reinvesting in our assets, fortifying them. We'll be resurfacing over 7,000 linear feet of roadways, replacing 8,500 linear feet of pedestrian and bike trails. So actually redoing more pedestrian and bike trails than roadways this year in terms of linear footage, which is an interesting statistic for you. You get that, Dan? Okay, all right. Thank you. We're going to re-pour over 700 linear feet of sidewalk, and we're also putting in a little over 2,100 linear feet of new water transmission mains. With all that work, I didn't say investing in stormwater infrastructure, which is probably a surprise to you, given that's our #1 issue that we're working with in the village and trying to help make better for our community. We have been working, I would say, planning and engineering solutions. We've put together a model of our community in terms of how stormwater flows throughout the entire community. We found the problems. We have this very phenomenal engineering modeling system, and we've done surveys with our residents to verify that the model is true, where we know the problems are, and we've actually come up with a litany of solutions and actually my engineer would not like me to say that, solutions improvements to help reduce the impacts of stormwater. But the biggest one is actually a new big deep tunnel project. And it's a trunk system that would actually capture the stormwater, a lot of it coming from the west and the east side of the village, and take it out into Lake Michigan, and it would solve the viaduct issue. It would pick up water there in a large diameter pipe, carry it up Sheridan Road, and then take it out North Avenue and into the lake, just daylight just west of Lillian Dells, opening along that slope. It's a $17 million investment, which I just talked about scale. You know, our whole budget's less than that, so tough problem. The good news is, and I'm excited, and this may be your headline, Dan, I don't know, but the village has been recently notified from the Lake County Stormwater Management Commission, again, thank you, Sandy, that the SMC is going to fund the engineering work for this project. And I would say the lion's share, there is a small cost share for the village, but this is remarkable news, and it's the first step in solving a very big issue for a lot of our residents, so we're excited about that. Jason was talking about how everybody likes construction when it's done, right? So this was a really fun project because we worked on a plan, a new downtown plan, and immediately put it to work, which is so like non-governmental, right? The plans go on shelves, plans get put away, they get funded later and later. We started the work and finished it, and we shocked ourselves, I think, with the quality and how well it went. We went as far, and tell me if you've ever done this, is we surveyed our community on how did we do? Who does that?
You must have known you did a good job.
That's right. That's exactly right. That's why we did it. But it worked out really well. We worked with our merchants, and this new plan does a lot of things that our strategic plan and our community plan talks about. It creates bigger areas for community to gather, right? We're cultivating connections. We want to bring people together. We've learned through COVID people want to be outside, so we're giving them that blank canvas to paint their life on, right? They want to spend these times in our community, and we're giving them a place to do it. We did all this work. Even through COVID, we had all kinds of planning meetings outside at our farmers market. We surveyed folks. We asked them what they wanted to see. And again, they wanted more of what we had in terms of outdoor dining options. I'm going to share with you, this is a plan. Hopefully you all can see this. It's kind of hard, but this is, if you're standing on East Scranton and you're looking west towards the train station, that's the train station there. This is the new plan for Block 1. That's that area where the brewery is, and Mavry's and B Market. This is a very, I would say, unique and innovative concept where the north side of the street is curbless. So what does that mean? So that people who are out dining on the street could actually walk across the street into the Lake Bluff Village Green without worrying about stepping down and tripping, or if somebody's serving food, they don't have to worry about dropping plates or glasses. And it creates this festive street opportunity, so that we spend a lot of time closing this street down in the summer for all the block parties that we have. And we said, how can we make it better and easier and just let people flow through and enjoy the community and enjoy each other? So this was a great concept plan that the Architectural Board of Review came up with. It went to the board adopted this plan. The plan had not been updated since 2007. So we are chasing grant dollars for this right now, hoping to fund it. I think Block 1 work is a little over, I think it's like 1.1 million just to do that block. But it is repeating a lot of the architectural elements that we are finishing up right now, which is these curvilinear brick benches with limestone caps and festoon lighting, and that element continues within this additional area of the downtown. So I will try to cover a lot of this planning stuff too. COVID's been great for the village to work on planning initiatives. You know, we huddle up in Village Hall and work with our advisory bodies. The Plan Commission Zoning Board of Appeals has been hard at work. In fact, just this January, the Village Board approved an exciting new housing strategy. They adopted a special use permit program to allow for accessory dwelling units, so granny flats, mother-in-law castles. But they can be attached, they can be detached, but The village was trying to find ways to diversify its housing product over the years. I've been up here and I've talked about that. How can we have more than just single-family detached housing? Residents have told the village this over and over again. How can we diversify our housing stock? So the village has been studying this. ADUs was one way to do it. It's a different strategy. It's a new strategy. Actually, the village got some props from the regional Chicago Metro Planning Agency about that. It was heralding the village's work with this. We'll see how it works out, so time will tell. Speaking of single family, the village is also in the process of updating its planned residential development tool. So that's a type of zoning tool that the village uses to authorize large subdivisions. Why is that timely? The village just settled litigation with Stonebridge. So if any of you write that question down, I'm gonna try to nip it in the bud here. So the village just finished getting out of litigation with the owner of the Stonebridge development, and part of that, it's really doing a clean slate, wiping it back, going back to its original E1 zoning. I think the village board smartly anticipates that whoever comes in and tries to redevelop that site at some point is going to want to have use a planned residential development tool to do it. It allows for more creativity. The village can use that tool to incentivize certain, let's say, protections or preservation, such as preservation of historic structures or landscapes or natural areas. So we can use that tool more effectively. So we're in the process of rewriting that so it's ready if and when a new developer comes along. Jason, you're up.
Lake Bluff's not the only community engaged in long-term planning. It's going to be a busy year for us as well as we look to complete an update to our comprehensive plan. And I know that can be a bit of a dry topic for some, but truly there are few endeavors a municipality can undertake that are more critical and important than the comprehensive planning process. Our comprehensive plan serves as our guiding land use document and really steers future land use decisions for the community for the next 20 years. It's been, I think, about 20 years since we last updated it. We had begun the work a couple of years ago now. As you can see, some of the areas of focus that we had completed were really on the west side of town, the Waukegan Road Settler Square Business District and the Route 60 corridor. COVID happened. That really impacted our ability to have large in-person gatherings, and it is really critical for us as a community to get feedback and contributions from members of the public. It's your town. You should be determining the future direction and fate of the community. So we feel confident now that we're able to move forward, certainly as indicated us by us being here today. And so as we look forward to the year ahead, we're going to have a focus on the central business district and the surrounding neighborhoods. If you can, I know it's a little hard to see the detail of that map. And then we're also going to be looking at the housing chapter of our comp plan, trying to identify where there are gaps within our housing stock, the variety of housing options we offer, and how do we best address that. Looking at development and redevelopment opportunity areas. We don't have a lot of vacant land left, but in areas where we have it, how do we best address those needs, and what really is the optimal use for us as we look out again 10, 15, 20 years from now. And so I can only encourage all of you, if you have any interest in this, please get involved. Our planning processes are most effective when we really have a diversity of backgrounds and perspectives contributing to the process. So we want to hear from members of the business community, from property owners in the downtown, from preservationists, from those with design, development, or architectural backgrounds, longtime residents, new residents. We want everybody involved. And so we're going to have a lot of information we're sharing about this in the weeks and months ahead, and we encourage everybody to get involved in this because, again, there are a few things we do that shape and guide the future look of our community more so than our comprehensive plan. Another thing to note, this year in our proposed budget, which will start May 1, we have funding allocated for improvements to the Deer Path Streetscape. Deer Path, as everyone knows, as you're traveling east, is the main entryway and sort of gateway into our central business district. I think it's fair to acknowledge that it's a little tired right now and could probably use a bit of a facelift. And so several years ago, we had established an ad hoc committee that included some of our elected officials. I know Alderman Rummel was part of it. I believe it was chaired by Alderman at the time, Prue Beidler. We had landscapers involved, business owners involved. Our own Joanna Rolek served on that committee and really made an effort to think about how do we improve the look, the feel of the streetscape, make it more inviting. We looked at landscaping features, hardscape, infrastructure, and so we've budgeted about $500,000 to construct all of the final engineering design for this project. The project, the boundaries I should have clarified, start almost up at Green Bay, maybe a little east of that around Veterans Park, and then extend east down Deer Path to Western Avenue. So we're really excited about this. Our goal is to seek grant funding for the project later this year once the design is done. Having the design work done and having the project shovel ready gives us a real leg up in seeking grant funding. But if we're unable to obtain that funding, then we'll look at the council level to discuss whether we fund it internally in the next year. Good. And then I'm just going to briefly touch upon another topic that's very important to us and to Lake Bluff, and in fact areas where we've found opportunities to partner with one another and throughout the region, and that is environmental sustainability. This is, I think, Lake Forest has always been a community that's very committed to conservation, to preservation of open space, but a lot of those values were really memorialized, I think, last year through the establishment at the city council level of a formal environmental subcommittee, and that's chaired by Alderman Melanie Rummel, who's with us, and actually Alderman Weber is also a member of that subcommittee. And really, while it's only been a year, they've made a tremendous amount of progress in achieving several of the goals that we've identified. And as we look about how we approach sustainability, I think we've really tried to achieve an appropriate balance in wanting to lead the community, but also meet the community where it's at, and recognizing that Lake Forest, while we've always had a deep-rooted commitment to conservation, it is also a community that has probably historically had an aversion to direct or heavy-handed government regulation. And so we've really tried to approach this through community education, through incentive programs to encourage good behavior, and I think it's worked. It's been very successful for us in the first year. Some of the education campaigns we've worked on have included the Rethink Your Recycling campaign, if anyone's familiar with Bart the Cart on social media. I won't go into a lot of detail, but we've seen a tremendous amount of success in that program in a little over a year in reducing the contamination rate we were seeing in our recycling stream. When the program started, about 25% of all of the material that was being put into recycling bins was not recyclable material, and that when that was ultimately getting diverted to the landfill, that came at a significant cost to the city, to the tune of six figures a year. And through this educational awareness campaign, not only have we been able to, I think, increase people's commitment to recycling, but we've been able to cut down the contamination rate in our waste stream from 25% to 16%. And so that not only has the environmental benefits, but has real financial savings to the city as well. In terms of incentivizing programs, we've over the last year reduced or eliminated permit fees for solar panel installations, electric vehicle charging stations, other private activity that promotes sustainability that we want to see, and has been, I think, effective for us. And as we look forward into the year ahead, one of the big projects that we're working on is installing solar panels on a lot of our municipal buildings. And so I hope we'll have news to share on that probably within the next 3 to 4 months. I'm looking at our assistant manager who looks skeptical, but we'll say 6 to 8 months. But an exciting project for us. And then I'll just note that there are a lot of other efforts that are underway, recognizing that environmental sustainability at its core is not a local problem, that we can't just solve these problems within the bubble of Lake Forest, these are regional problems and beyond. And so we're engaged in a lot of efforts to work at a regional level, whether it be leaf blowers and some of the things Drew will talk about, or particularly stormwater. So we're working very closely with our neighbors to the north and to the south throughout the region to try to tackle these problems more holistically. Drew?
This is something I've been talking about literally for like, I think 5 years, this next topic, and I think I've changed my mind, Dan. This is the headline, okay? So this is answering the question of what the village has done to preserve and enhance our natural heritage. Again, that gets to the village's strategic plan. And so in an effort to save local businesses, you all, money, and to increase the recycling of you all, the village last year awarded an exclusive franchise agreement for all commercial waste collection in the village of Lake Bluff to Groot Industries. So we awarded a commercial franchise agreement just like we do with residential waste. Why is this important? Well, this agreement provided the lowest municipal franchise rates in all of Illinois. I'll say that again, the lowest municipal franchise rates in all of Illinois. Again, I know that got lost in COVID, but we were really proud of that. And Little Lake Bluff here again leading this region, if you will, thank you, Jason, and how we handle our waste and recyclables. And so in the village, what had happened is the village had been looking at this. We have a sustainability and community enhancement committee, and the village wanted to make a difference. They've been watching this issue. We know that our businesses were only recycling at an average of about 30%, and we thought we can do better. Where other communities have done commercial franchises, this number doubles. And so, we're thinking we're gonna have a big splash with that in addition to saving you money. So we thought that was a good program. It was literally years in the making. The hauling industry did not want to make it easy for municipalities to do that, right? Because they're losing market share. It took a lot of effort, but it finally has come to fruition, and we're really excited about it. I think most of you, if not all of you in Lake Bluff, business owners and operators and property owners should have received a letter from the hauler about this already. We've heard from certain businesses, institutions that are jumping on this contract already, because they're going to save money, and you can do that. There is actually a hard, fast date in October of this year, October 12th, when there's the switchover will occur. And if there is a chance that you actually have a better deal, Groot will honor that for the first year. So we're trying to get a soft landing for everybody, but really anticipate everybody to do well with that. So why else is this good for our natural heritage? Well, one, it's going to lessen the volume of trucks on the street, fewer haulers, fewer heavy garbage trucks driving around town. So that's going to help our streets last longer and less emissions from those trucks. Interesting too, one of the things the village did working with the SEC, the Sustainability and Community Enhancement Chair, Brian Renner, and our Finance Committee Chair, Barbara Ankerman, worked with Groot to negotiate this, is that they were concerned about the carbon footprint of this. So they actually negotiated with Groot a deal where they would limit how far they were carrying their trash, for the disposal of this, for the waste that did end up in the landfills. Groot owns certain facilities, so they're going to try to take advantage of that because it's cheaper for them to do it within their business model. But we negotiated that they actually take it shorter distances, so the village reduced the carbon footprint as part of that effort too. So again, really proud of that. As for other sustainability planning efforts, again, I talked about the SEC group. They put together a plan back in 2019. They've been working on that. There's 7 key areas in that. Solid waste management's one, energy conservation, waste conservation, bicycle and pedestrian transportation. I won't bore you with the rest of that, but the last thing, and this is probably a popular thing, again, a COVID fame, this Jason went out and modeled for this, and this image you're seeing here. But it's, this is something I know you heard about it, I heard about it, I get calls like, what in the world, what do we not regulate these things? And so after a lot of conversations with different grassroots groups, like the North Shore, there's a lot of camaraderie, esprit de corps, if you will, with city managers. And we got together and said, you know what, we're all hearing the same thing, let's get together. Not unlike texting, if you remember back when texting was kind of handled community to community before it became a state law. I think this is kind of going to go the same way, but we're getting together as a region to try to plan and study this issue and find out, hey, is there a better way to do this, a better way to manage this and regulate? these blowers and see where that leads. So stay tuned for that. I think that work is going to get done throughout the rest of this calendar year, and there'll be a white paper that'll be issued to communities. It's not going to require the communities to adopt any kind of regulation specifically or any specific set of rules, but it's an idea that everybody gets the same information and take it back to their respective leadership and make a decision that works for their own community.
Everyone in Lake Forest knows leaf blowers have been an issue for some time. In fact, I want to cut into your slide, but I was amazed my first couple months on the job after sitting through about an hour and a half long discussion on leaf blowers. I went home and told my wife, who knew this was such an issue? But it is. So.
She's like, what?
Yeah.
Lake Bluff is very fortunate. It continues to enjoy extremely high tenancy rates in its downtown with its retail and its office and industrial flex properties. And that's, I mean, again, another COVID miracle in that we're blessed to have very few office properties to worry about. That's the area in terms of the market that's taken the biggest hit. But we're very pleased that entrepreneurs look at Lake Bluff a lot like Lake Forest and say, what a great place to do business. We've been very fortunate to have a number of new businesses start in the last couple of years. Tropical Smoothie Cafe opened up last year and is doing well. Susie Swirl jumped the street into Lake Bluff from unincorporated Lake County and jumped in with Donati's Pizza. And we've also had some local businesses expand recently. This is a shot of the new Prairie Espresso and Wine Bar that opened up an interior place. I don't know if you've been down there yet. It kind of complements their outdoor space in the alley. Everybody loves Scranton Alley. John Davis wanted to open up an indoor place to help that through the winter, and people are really excited about that. John DeRossier of Innovasi and Other Door fame also opened up, he's going to open up in April, Half and Half Pizza in Lake Bluff. That'll be new. He'll be sharing the space with his other restaurant, Bonk, which is sharing space in the bicycle shop. So interesting partnerships in Lake Bluff to help people get through. I'll mention briefly, because I know it's getting late, the village also started up something new to help businesses, and that's a new business advisory committee. It's made up of business professionals who work in Lake Bluff. Some of them live there too, and own businesses and properties. And it's there to help the community leadership really evaluate the economy of the village and then come back with activities and ideas to help drive it moving forward. So it's open conduit to the village leadership to help us make good decisions, to help expand the environment and hopefully attract and retain our businesses.
Jason? We also are really excited by the amount of activity that is being generated in terms of interest for new businesses coming into the community. We had a great year last year with some of the entities you can see there on the slide. The Forrester Hotel opened and has really exceeded their projections for the year. We've been pleased to see that. Donati's Pizza, Jefe's Tacos, and Susie Swirl came back into the community. Rosati's Pizza, Everett Farms, the station, these have all been wonderful additions to the community. And then there's just a lot of excitement as we look forward to the year ahead. Le Colonial, most people are familiar, was a huge win for us, and we're really excited about it. They're going into the former Market House space. They're now scheduled to open probably beginning of July. As tends to happen sometimes when you go into these real old buildings and they are completely gutting and rehabbing it, you run into unanticipated problems. So it's been a little more work than probably they even realized, but people are going to be amazed when they see the interior of the space when it opens, and when we're really excited. Joanna stole a little of my thunder on the Marcus Lemonis grill space, but Ballyhoo Hospitality, which operates about 6 restaurants, maybe 4 in the city, 1 in Wilmette, 1 in Winnetka, is opening their Sophia Steak concept that they have in Wilmette at that space, and hopefully that will be open by summertime because they have a wonderful outdoor patio. So we're really excited about that. Down at the Westwood Square space, I don't see the Ursos here, but they're opening a new golf-themed bar, Bunkers, on Western, which will be right next door to their Donati's space, and where Lucky Duck used to be the Peanut Gallery. And I'm pleased to say the Peanut Gallery, which is a sister restaurant of the Gallery, is looking to reopen at a new location here in town too. I know my family will be thrilled. When they closed last fall, my kids acted like it was a death in the family. You know, they were so crushed, but we're really thrilled to see that. And then there are numerous other restaurants and businesses that we're not quite prepared to be able to comment on today, but I will just say, stay tuned. There's a lot of excitement and names that I think will be familiar to people and is really going to help enhance the energy and vibrancy in the Central Business District and hopefully benefit all restaurants and businesses. We like to believe a rising tide lifts all ships, and if we can get more people coming into the Central Business District, that'll ultimately benefit our existing businesses as well. And then real quickly, just good to let people know that this is coming. Northwestern Lake Forest Hospital, it's hard to believe it's been about 4 years since they've been open, and I regularly ask myself, where would we have been as a community without this amazing amenity over the last 2 years? Who would have thought when they were opening that within 18 months to 2 years we'd be in the middle of a global pandemic? But it's been a remarkable success for us, but not just Lake Forest, not just Lake Bluff, but for the entire region. But what has come with that is a hospital system that's been stressed. They're really at capacity. They're bursting at the seams. And so it was always envisioned when this was initially improved that there might be a need for an expansion. It's come quicker than any of us might have expected, but this is a good long-term investment for the community. And so over the next couple years, probably beginning as soon as winter of next year, the hospital is looking to expand. Those obviously familiar with the design know that the sort of modular pavilions that were incorporated into the architecture are such that it allows for a pretty seamless expansion. So they're going to be adding a couple of those pavilions to the south around the bottom of that pond, and then they will be adding probably a parking garage to address the additional parking capacity that'll be needed. It's already pretty tight for parking over there at times, so the parking's needed. This was all included in the original master plan approved by the city, so there are no formal approvals needed. However, we will have a sort of an ad hoc design committee that'll help the city staff with reviewing the design and landscaping features.
So all the good stuff that makes Lake Bluff good, it's coming back. It's there. Farmers market starts in June. The bike race, block parties. Bike race is a little bigger splash this year. All the major cities in the U.S. are having a bike race on the same new list. New York City, Salt Lake City, Tulsa, Lake Bluff, all the major metropolitan areas. Seriously, they are. The purse is $100,000. It's really amazing. So professional men's and women's racing continues in Lake Bluff and our long connection into bike lifestyle. So our block parties are back.
Lake Bluff's not the only one having fun. We've got a lot going on ourselves this summer. This is a picture from sometime last summer on a Thursday night, a pretty typical Thursday evening market on the square. Your typical Thursday in Lake Forest, but really we've seen so much additional interest in having these special events. So not only are we continuing a lot of them, but we're looking to expand them this year. So for our markets on the square, we're taking our show on the road, if you will, and looking to expand these out into neighborhood parks. So we're going to have a concert in the park series that brings these, again, to local neighborhoods and allow people to gather where they are. A lot of our other more traditional events like the 4th of July, Lake Forest Day, of course, will happen. The Lake Forest Music Festival will be back. So a lot of planning underway for more community events and more to come on that. And then I'll just note, recently approved by the council, I know might be of interest to this community, is again allowing for mobile food and beverage vendors. This is something that we've heard from a lot of people they'd like to see to add vibrancy to some of these community events. We did work with the chamber on it. While these vendors are allowed, we did try to incentivize making it easier for local businesses to participate. There's a permit fee associated with, or a license associated with operating in the city. That fee is waived for all local businesses. The food trucks are only allowed in conjunction with a special event, so they can't just be parked out on the street on a Tuesday afternoon. But we were really pleased to see last year a lot of local restaurants who participated in this, and it was a great opportunity for them to increase sales volume, to get out, get name exposure. So we look forward to seeing a lot of them out this year as well. And so with that, I think that wraps it up for us. I know we ran a little long. Drew can be long-winded. Yeah. But really, I just want to say thank you again to everybody for taking the time to be here. Thank you for all you do for our respective communities. And with that, we're happy to answer.
2 questions. Yeah, thank you. We have 2 questions that we're going to answer really quick, and we'll get you guys out of here. I'll handle this one, and you can handle, because I think that's directed to the City of Lake Forest.
Sure.
But the question that I'm reading here says, how are we negotiating the challenges of Illinois? So, pour another cup.
In 30 seconds or less. Yeah.
Really briefly, I think it's because of people like you all, right? You guys are the leaders of the community. You guys make a difference in what happens in city council chambers or in the village boardroom is because of people like you all, and it's a different place. We can't secede. We looked into that, but we muddle through with the rules that we're given, and a big part of it is just the leadership that we work for and with.
Great. And this question is asking whether the city has a dedicated plan for considering art in public places, and we do not, that I'm aware of, but I think it's actually a great suggestion, and so something we can certainly take under advisement. And for the individual who submitted the question, I'm happy to chat about it a little further after this.
Thank you for your patience. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here today.